When you sell on eBay, you run into some of the strangest people, that's for sure. Now, before I get to my story, I want to just kind of remind people that when you're selling your items on eBay, you generally don't have much control over who's buying your stuff. I'd say on eBay, I'd say about 95% of your buyers are good people. Then there's the other 5% that are really kind of sketchy and questionable. And you really can't do anything about it, just hope for the best, especially when that small percentage of buyers happens to buy your item at full price. Or if you send an offer to watch her, that type of thing. And with good practices, you'll usually get through even the worst buyers, unless they're trying to scam you. But most people aren't out to do that. Most people, good and bad, are still buying on eBay. But when they send you an offer, I think that's where you as a seller have a little bit more control. So when you're receiving a best offer from a buyer, and I've said this before, it's a very good idea to at least check their feedback, and not really so much of their feedback that they've received, but for the feedback they've left for other sellers. Especially if they have a weird username. Now, I didn't really notice this particular username with the one that I was dealing with today until kind of later in the interaction, and that's kind of my mistake, and it's a lesson learned. I'm going to start paying a little bit more attention to buyers, because to me, if you're a buyer that abuses sellers, I'm not interested. You might be more willing to kind of look at maybe a flaw that I've listed in the listing, and because you didn't read it, you're going to be more willing to leave a negative and kind of be punitive at me. And I'd rather not do business with difficult people, like the 20 questions buyer, right? After about the third question, it's kind of time to maybe move them on to someone else. Now, that's not to say I don't want business. That's not to say that, I'm focused on turning people away, because it's not. But at the same time, as sellers, we're not going to make all buyers happy. And if a buyer shows a pattern of unhappiness, then that opens yourself and your account health up to more risk. And that's certainly not something that I'm interested in. Now, in this particular case, this buyer reached out to me with the best offer for one of my ceiling fans that I've had on sale, I think, for the last couple months. Now, recently I've put a lot of those items on a 25% markdown sale, and just to kind of get them moving. I'm into these ceiling fans for like $5 to $10. I think this particular one was a used model. It's in the retail box and everything. Even though it's in the original retail box, some of the pieces are actually still sealed. I really can't sell it as new because there's signs that this actually has been tried out. So we sell it as used. I think it was $65 or something. It got knocked down to $49.99 with the markdown sale. And here I receive an offer. So I didn't really see it when I was out and about. I got home and I checked it. And the guy was offering me $18.75. Now, that's a lowball offer. I mean, it's 3x what I'm into this particular ceiling fan for. That's $18.75 plus shipping. And in his notes, he said, and I'm assuming it's a he, and I'll tell you kind of why I think that in here in a second, but this particular person said that, would you consider free shipping? Now, there's no way I'm going to do free shipping. So I always give lowballers one chance, at least one chance. Sometimes I give them a couple strikes to come back to earth, because sometimes these lowballers like to haggle with you. Well, this particular lowballer, I sent them a message saying, look, I can come down to 35, from 49 to 35, sort of meeting you about halfway. But that's kind of the best I'm going to do. I'm not going any lower on this one. And also, shipping is not included. Shipping is additional to the cost of this item. And to be honest with you, I was just assuming this person was not going to respond, was not going to hear back from them again. Within about a half an hour, I get a counter offer. And in this counter offer, they up their counter by, guess how much, guys? 50 cents. Not even a dollar. So I started to take a closer look. I looked at the username, something about being a nudist or something. I don't know. I'm not going to dox the guy, but it's close to that. And I decided to look on the feedback left for others. And wouldn't you know it, I started looking and it was negative feedback after negative feedback after negative feedback after neutral after neutral after negative. And it's not just basic negative feedbacks, it's like a diatribe, and this person was nuts. Sort of like the thumbnail. That's kind of what inspired me for that thumbnail for this video, was my vision of this crazy buyer. Every time he has a questionable transaction or something that doesn't fit their expectations 100%, they're going nuts against eBay and the seller. And I certainly didn't want that. So I went back to the offer and I told the guy, I declined it with the message saying, I was going to come back with the $30 counter offer, which is what I would have done because I still have plenty of room, a $5 item into 30 plus shipping. However, I see how you treat sellers, and there's no price that would compel me to sell you this item. And I think it was an important message to send. I'm sure that he read it. And I say he because I think a woman wouldn't put "I'm a nudist," maybe, as their username, or "I'm the nudist," or something like that. So yeah, I let them know that the way they treat sellers to me wasn't cool, and I'm not interested in doing business with someone like that. And maybe, just maybe, if they realize that other sellers are looking at the negative feedback that this person's leaving for others, maybe they'll think twice, next time. Maybe they were serious about buying this ceiling fan, or buying a ceiling fan. Maybe they had a certain price point. It would be amazing to me that anyone would sell a ceiling fan for $20 shipping for free. It's like a 13-14 pound box, and it just doesn't seem to me that anyone would even be willing to do that. Maybe he's looking for someone to trick into selling him the item, and or putting a little note in the offer wanting free shipping, and then leaving a nasty negative feedback when he doesn't get his way. So I'm not interested in any of that. And the takeaway from all this is, every time I receive an offer, and I'm not out and about with my app in my hand, because there's really not a good way to do that on the app. I'm sure you can go into your browser and go through all these steps. I'm not interested in doing that. But when I'm at home, and instead of rushing to accept an offer or to counter an offer, I'm going to take a look at who I'm dealing with, because there's no amount of money in my eyes, whether they're trying to just take $5 off your price, or if they're trying to lowball you in this case, there's no amount of money that's worth dealing with a difficult person, and one that could actually give you more headaches down the road. And I think, it's like that sign that a lot of stores have, or used to have, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Well, I don't quite know the equivalent phrase that I'd use here, but I'm just not interested in dealing with bad buyers if I can control it. And this is one of the few times as sellers we have any kind of control over that interaction. So dealing with bad buyers, it's going to happen to all of us, and it's going to be out of our control. But when you're accepting offers, well, maybe take an extra few minutes to see who you're dealing with, so you can avoid those headaches. But figuring that out is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you to check out one of these videos here. And in the meantime, have an excellent rest of your day. Take care, everyone.